Our first speaker is Fargo Public Schools Superintendent Rupak Gandhi.
Good afternoon, mayors and colleagues. First off, I just want to say thank you to all of our city leaders for allowing us this opportunity to highlight some of the great work that's really a reflection of our staff in Fargo Public Schools. As you said, the last 2 weeks have not been easy, but they have been a very meaningful learning opportunity for all of our staff, and that's to change our instructional delivery model and find a way to provide a meaningful experience for all of our students during this indefinite closure resulting from COVID-19. I think one of the first questions that we're asked is, how have school districts across our state and across the nation been so successful in being able to create a new plan and change what we do to a distance learning model? And the answer for that is really our staff. In Fargo Public Schools, we know that our strength is our unity of our staff, and our staff have come together the last 2 weeks to put together something that we know that's important, not just on the academic side for our students, but on the social emotional learning side as well. And knowing
you are the only participant in the conference.
Knowing that we don't just teach to the academics, but we teach to the whole child. And this is a time for us as a school district to do what we can to not only serve our students, but serve our families and our communities. So we officially launched our distance learning yesterday on April 1st, and it has been going very successfully. As anticipated, we know that there's going to be hiccups. This is a new model for us. It's something that we are doing that is unexpected and something that we didn't expect to do 3 weeks ago. So there's always going to be variables such as technology, making sure that all of the students have access, but also knowing that we are currently working under the stressors of being under a global pandemic, and understanding that that requires us to be fluid and to be flexible is very important. So we have a wide variety of systems that we're using. And at the elementary level, what we have done is provided a learning board for all of our students, and we've done that 8 weeks at a time. And each learning board has about 5 activities students can complete on a daily basis that are tied to literacy, to exercise, to art, to reading, to math, that cover a wide variety of disciplines. And then we also provide teachers the opportunity to provide supplemental materials or to scaffold instructions as appropriate as well. At the middle and high school level, what we have done is we provided our students with the opportunity to take all of the classes that they would in their middle school, except for advisory, and all of the classes that they would at their high school level online. So teachers are utilizing a learning management system, which could be a Google Classroom, Moodle, or other LMSs of their choice, to interact with students and make sure that they're able to post their assignments and complete the assignments. One thing that's really important for us to share with our community is that we know that the current model that we offer is not meant to replace the instruction that we would provide physically in the building. The current model that we offer is supposed to be instruction that we know is best under these circumstances, given the time constraints and given all the stressors that all of our family and community members are experiencing. So it is not an expectation for us that students would be engaged from bell to bell that they would normally in a school day, or that instruction would look the same or even at the same level, because we know that right now there's a lot of different factors at play for each family and for each student. So equitability is important for us, but also to make sure that we are able to provide instruction under an environment that allows for students to care for a younger sibling if that's something they need to do, or to make sure that they're splitting their internet or their devices with their parents who might also be working at home. So just allowing students that flexibility and making sure that this is instruction given the circumstances that we have, but this is not meant to replace school. That what school would look like if they were physically in our building is very important. So thank you, and we're extremely proud of the work that's happening in Fargo Public Schools.
Thank you very much. We're going to try the audio again. West Fargo Public Schools Superintendent Beth Sleddy to talk, if she's on.
Hello, thank you for this opportunity today. Upon first hearing that the governor was closing school in our state, our attention was to focus on the social emotional well-being of our students. And we immediately wanted to ensure that all of our students had breakfast and lunch. We currently have 13 distribution sites in West Fargo Public Schools and are serving 650 to 750 meals per day. We also knew that students needed their teachers, so we have quickly begun connecting them wherever we are able, online or by phone. Teachers now have office hours, so students and parents can have one-on-one contact with their teacher or other support staff. In addition, our counseling team reached out to students and families receiving counseling and therapy services. We've designed a plan to continue these services through video conferencing and teletherapy. Social workers are also working with their families. Like our traditional delivery model, our distance learning model puts rigorous state standards and the district's guaranteed and viable curriculum at the center of the academic piece. I'm happy to report also that our students are going to be able to take part in specials and core classes such as music, art, foreign language, and career and technical courses. We have also ensured that students have access to special education services, remediation, and 504 accommodations. There are some very big differences, though, as Dr. Gandhi just pointed out. We are providing for much more flexibility than in a traditional model when we are providing learning support and when learning is completed. This allows for families and teachers to have school at times that work for them and their busy schedules. Attendance is taken by documenting engagement and completion of projects and assignments. We are not taking attendance by showing up at specific certain times, so our schedule is very flexible and accommodating. Assignments look different in many cases as well. For example, a student could submit a video of them doing their yoga assignment or take a picture of a painting that they completed for art class and submit it. We even have students that are becoming OSHA certified for a building trades course. Our amazing teachers and our students are being extremely creative and resilient. Our teachers are going above and beyond to make this experience the very best it can be for our learners, as well as all of the support staff that have stepped up, and I have to give great gratitude and appreciation for. There have been challenges, however. We know that equity is critical, and it's very hard in a traditional school to be guaranteeing equity, but in a distance learning environment, there are so many things out of our control. Distributing devices and providing internet access to those that need it is essential, and we hope to have accomplished this for all of our learners by the end of the week. Large-scale solutions have been successful, and we are now problem-solving one by one. There is so much more I would like to share, but I would just point out that please go to our website, West Fargo Public Schools. There's a wealth of information. And in closing, I bring us back to West Fargo Public Schools' mission, which is to prepare students for tomorrow's world. Our world has literally changed overnight, but I want to assure our community that our mission has not, and it is more applicable now than ever. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you very much. And now we're going to move east and go over into Moorhead and find out what Brandon Lunick is doing as superintendent of their schools.
Thank you, Mayor Mahoney. On March 15th, we were told that Governor Walz was going to be moving us to a distance learning model. And at that time, we quickly assembled our staff and took that directive that came to us about 10:05 that Sunday and immediately went to work. We had an emergency board meeting that night to let our board know what was happening. After that, then we had a central administration meeting as well that included all our principals and district directors, and we went to work on creating a plan. At the Moorhead area schools and any other Minnesota school for that matter, distance learning includes a daily interaction with their certified teachers. So we made sure that that plan or that part of the distance learning model included that. At the K-4 level, we make sure that our students receive daily guidance from their teachers, which includes a morning greeting video. We have given our staff through Google Voice the ability to make contact with those families and students. Teachers will work also to contact students individually and in small groups. Our 5 through 12 plan is a little bit different. We take and are taking our Chromebooks and learning plans and delivering instruction through our Power School Learning, which has been our platform for the last 9 years. And we will also visit students individually for face-to-face interaction with teachers through Google Hangout. Our plan includes careful consideration for students in a variety of areas that include special education services, multi-language learners, students that are experiencing homelessness, and students that rely on meals that are normally served at school. Part of that distance learning plan in Minnesota and Governor's Wall's order was that we are required as a school district to provide meals and childcare for Tier 1 and Tier 2 workers in the healthcare field for students in grades 5 through 12. I just want to give a shout out to our team, both instructional and operational. To this date, we have served over 15,000 meals at 70 different delivery spots, and that is made possible due to our food service workers and our incredible transportation service team as they continue to load those meals and get those out and delivered. I do also want to say, give a big shout out to our early learning team who has taken on the task of creating a child care plan that we have to continue to carry out for students aged 5 through 12, and we have provided more than over 120 hours of child care at this point. We are currently in our day 4 of distance learning. As we've all shared, and I'm sure we'll continue to hear, it was a daunting task. We continue to explore ways to do this and do this effectively, because for us anyway, we sometimes don't know where or what's coming around the next corner. One of our big challenges that we're continuing to address and will continue to address, and we've tried to address through the planning process, was getting those folks that need accessibility, getting them the appropriate tools so they can have access to see those licensed teachers on a daily basis. Our district has set up a technical hotline where you can either call or email in any technical questions that you have if you're a student, a staff, or a community member to help your students at home in any way, shape, or form. We have distributed over 200 cellular routers to families who need broadband support, and we'll continue to do that today. In fact, they're making calls to those families as we speak and setting up appointments to ensure that they get those. We're, like Rupak said and Beth have already said, although this is a challenge, I think we will take on the challenge with the utmost enthusiasm because we owe it to our kids and our community to deliver solid education as we push out. Our distance learning plan, according to the governor, is scheduled to end on April 30th with the intent that we would go back to instruction on May 5th. I believe that's a Tuesday, and we would take the 1st and the 4th of May to get ready to get back to the traditional model. That is also subject to change via the governor's order, but that is where we're at this point. And again, I just thank you for this opportunity to share where we're at.
Thank you very much. I'm also reminded that Metco has a service available to students who do not have internet capabilities, and the superintendents are supposed to help that out if that happens to go forward. Oak Grove Lutheran President Mike Sleddy as well to talk to us about what's going on in Oak Grove.
Thanks for the opportunity to be here today. As we listen to each other talk, all our worlds changed on March 15th, right? 7:30 that evening, much like Brandon just mentioned, by 8:15 that night, we had a group of leaders at Oak Grove saying, okay, we got some work ahead of us. And maybe just to think between that point and Monday the 23rd, we actually launched our online distance education. And in recognition of that, we recognize as a private school, we don't have all of the burdens and challenges that the public schools have to deal with. And so we got there quickly, but in a sense, we were solving problems, but not all the same problems. And so I guess I would also give a shout out to educators across the entire region, public and private, to say we've probably never dealt with change in this time, demand, and seen the results that we have. So kudos to everybody. I think of that Monday morning, I know a message went out to our teachers saying, look at the state standards and take a look at between where we are now and where we want to be at the end of the year. And this idea that at Oak Grove, Beth mentioned their mission. Our mission calls us to do academics, faith, and service. And the academics is the main focus because we just wanted to keep that going, but also a recognition that the faith component and the service component are things that we want to weave into this virtual distant experience. So our teachers began that process looking at, again, what was ahead of them. Kind of cubbies begin with the end in the mind. We wanted to hit the end of the year doing as much as we could to build mastery in those standards, and recognizing, however, that if you look forward into the next year for these students, you could find introductions for the year that were actually looking back to the previous year. So we gave ourselves a little bit of grace and said, we're going to do our best effort to get to that end line, but recognize we can pick this up again come next fall. It was interesting to see on Tuesday morning of that week, we brought together a group of 8 educators, 4 from each of our campuses, and you may not know this, but I've got 27 years in Great Plains software and Microsoft, and to me, this idea that they were challenged with was kind of the technology integration. And the equivalent for me over history would be to say, if we're going to give you a CRM solution, it's going to have all kinds of different products that come together that literally provide that solution. Same thing, actually, and I think we're probably all dealing with that, whether it's Zoom, which is perhaps a common thread, Google Classrooms, School Dojo, or Class Dojo, all these things were what this group was challenged with to say, perhaps at both campuses slightly different, but here's our solution, or at least options that can come together to provide that. Excuse me, I will say, looking back, this idea that God has blessed us in a way that you can only kind of recognize it looking backwards, but we started a technology initiative this last year that put one-to-one technology in the hands of middle school and high school, and way more reach into the elementary school and even the early learning center. And all of a sudden, that turned into a tool that we could use X months later. We've got an incredible staff of people that have just shown the ability to collaborate and problem solve together. I also have this idea that God's given us the ability to harness technology, but He's wired us for relationship and community. And we all see that within our classrooms, right? And so I think it's a blessing that we're sitting dealing with this 7 months into the school year, because all those kids have built relationships not only with themselves, but with their teacher. And now even when you see, I've seen pictures of the 3rd grade joining into a Zoom meeting, and their eyes light up when they see their classmates and their teacher. And that would have been a very different story if we were doing this in September. But we're able to build off of that. I laugh because we had sort of this series of Sunday evenings going, and the 22nd, the last thing that we did as a team was Amy Zackerson, our academic dean, sent out an email to all of the faculty and staff, and the title of it was, "We Ride at Dawn." And that's what we did. And I'm just pleased to say that we've been so almost joyous with the way this has played out. And I think of one of the first wins that came through was a high school English teacher who literally that Monday morning taught Hamlet to her class with this combination of an online view of Hamlet off of Prime, pausing, students had this conversation over Zoom, and away they went. You also have, I'm going to give a shout out to a gentleman named Mark Langseth, 42 years in the field of education, and he walks into this saying, "This is going to give me an opportunity that I wanted to pursue a long time." Just sort of changing out the way he's going to do education. Elementary school teachers that are, part of our challenge, I think that we probably all face, is that we have teachers who are also parents. And so they're balancing either taking care of a young child or literally teaching their kids the curriculum that's coming at them. And so videos of teachers presenting little messages to the young kids lights them up, right? And kind of keeps everybody moving forward. So we've been blessed with a great start. We're doing the best that we can, middle school and high school, that they literally follow their class schedule. And so they're online, 8:30 to 3:30, many of them, and we swap out schedules. But Doug Burgum, throughout his years at Great Plains, maybe one of the most often quoted lines was, and I think it came through a Forum article, but quoted Buddy Malgus, who was a 1960s sailor, and Governor Burgum would always refer to, "You never have to recover from a good start." And I think we're hearing this across the room, thanks to faculty, staff, operations folks, and other. I think we've all hit the ground running, all for the benefit of our kids. So blessings to all of you for pulling that off.
Thank you very much. Next, we have the Park Christian President, Chris Nellermo. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Mayor Mahoney. Thanks for having me here this afternoon. And like much has been said already, the change to education that has happened over the last 2.5 weeks is incredible. And it's exciting, but we also recognize that we are built for relationship and we are built for community, and that can't happen in the virtual world as well as it can happen in the classroom. And so we miss that. That's part of our hallmark as well too, is just building relationships, community, and building a family. And so we miss our family each and every day, but we're trying to do the best we can. We're thankful for our teachers, and I think every head of school has said that the teachers and the principals who have stepped up to fill in the gap and to lead this transition, they've done an amazing job, and we can't say enough of a thank you to them for the work they're doing. I had a veteran teacher come to me, and she had been teaching for about 15, 18 years, and she said, "I have not worked this hard since my student teaching and my first year of teaching experience," of just the amount of time that they're putting in to do the best they can and bring excellence each and every day in the classroom. So a shout out to our teachers, very much so. We're communicating with our families daily. We're meeting technology needs. We have great support through our technology coordinator, Brooke Spalding, and through True IT that is supporting us incredibly well to bring virtual learning to the home. We too, like Brandon, are providing daycare for our healthcare workers that are our parents, for teachers, students that have to be in our school, and so we're providing that daycare experience at Park Christian School every day, and so trying to meet those needs so families and parents can continue to go to their work and serve our community in incredible ways. And so I want to say thank you to our healthcare workers this afternoon as well too, just on those front lines of caring for us and our health. So thank you very much for that. We are trying to develop routines, and I think with the first couple of days of as we integrated this remote learning, you're kind of drinking through a fire hose and just trying to realize that the home is being changed, the way teaching is being done is changed, and so we're trying to build routines and develop layers and kind of scaffold our way into this and not try to do everything all at once, but to get better as we go and to just implement strong, excellent learning that can happen with outcomes being met as we continue to go forward. So it's exciting to see what's happening in all of the classrooms, but it's an incredible learning curve that everybody's going through. We also recognize that moms and dads now are trying to be teachers, and how can they help support that? And that's overwhelming as well too. So I believe just for all of our homes and for all of our moms and dads and students, a lot of grace is required. And we're going to learn at this, and we're going to continue to get better, and we kind of hope for the end and that will happen. And it's exciting what is happening, but we also can just kind of pace ourselves in it too and know we're going to get better at this. And we can't wait for the days that we're coming back into our hallways, into our classrooms, so we can see you. Specifically at Park Christian School, we continue to equip the students to think biblically, live wisely, and serve faithfully each and every day. And it started when we got the notice as well on March 15th. We spent that Monday and Tuesday with our teachers, just speaking into them, what is this going to look like, and how can you deliver instruction remotely? And so we poured into our teachers, trying to get them on speed. We had a soft launch on March 21st and 22nd with just simple tasks of signing in, record yourself, and I think Beth Sleddy talked about taking attendance by just engaging. And so just some really simple soft starts to make sure that everybody was online. In our kindergarten through third grade, we're using Seesaw as a platform to deliver content such as devotions, morning routines, and read-alouds. Just seeing the teacher's face is really important. So we're doing some read-alouds each and every morning in our kindergarten through third grade so that there's that intentional touch each and every day. Through EduCreate, YouTube, and Zoom, they're able to offer additional support and lessons on core content. Zoom is being used by teacher groups to meet daily for check-ins and tips. Zoom is also the way that they meet with their classes. All workbooks and paper lessons available were sent home with the students, and kindergarten mails out paper copies as we go, and we continue to do that on 2-week cycles. So kindergarten is different than 12th grade too, as far as instruction and what has to happen there and caring for those. So in 4th through 12th grade, we're using Microsoft Teams to deliver content, to teach lessons, hold video conferences with the class, and they use the call feature to answer questions, check in, and listen to Bible verses on Friday. Students submit all their work or coursework on Teams using Microsoft Lens. Teachers meet with students on a daily basis, if not more. There are intentional office hours that our teachers are holding. There's not a specific class period day that our teachers are going through, but there's content and outcomes being accomplished each and every week with office hours being held, so as questions are asked and they can be answered and know that the teacher is going to be available for them. We're also trying to bring routine through our chapels. We have chapel every Tuesday, so we continue to provide a live stream opportunity for our kids to engage with chapel and bring some routine in that too. So again, we're just taking one day at a time, and we're getting better today. And so that what it looks like in the next week, and along with Brandon, we're shooting for the end of this month and the hopes that we can return. We also think a great deal about our seniors this year. They're missing out on a lot of experience, and we were just networking before we sat down here. What can that look like as far as what are some of the other schools doing that they're missing out on a lot of the year end? So we think about you seniors, and you're going to remember this, COVID-19, and we care about you. We're going to try to find ways to continue to encourage you as you end up your high school careers. So thank you.
Thank you, Chris, and I do know the seniors miss their senior year, or they don't like not having that. From the Catholic school system, we have, from St. John Paul, we have Mike Hagstrom to talk about what's going on in his area.
Thank you, Mayor, and all the mayors, as well as the County Commission, for your civic leadership and promotion of the common good. And likewise to my educational colleagues, thank you for your leadership as well and collaboration that we're all in this together. On Wednesday, March 11th, we finished third quarter, went into spring break, the 12th to the 16th, and we have a lot of mobile families who traveled, some internationally and across the nation, and by Sunday, we realized Sunday morning early that we could not have people come back to school. And so early afternoon got permission from our bishop, John Folda, to extend closure, or close the school for the week. Prior to Governor Burgum's announcement, we just realized that we had to do that, staff members, students, families traveling. And so made that decision, spent the afternoon preparing with our principals and leadership team. Governor Burgum's announcement confirmed that in a way. Sunday night, we providentially had a professional development day scheduled for March 16th, that Monday, totally threw out that agenda and focused on what we needed to do. I was with our Shanley Sullivan teachers and our network staff and called to mind 1997. And by the way, today's weather reminds me of April 5th and 6th of 1997 with the freezing rain. And 2009, when we turned our keys over to the National Guard for several weeks, it became their barracks, headquarters, mess hall, and parking lot when we closed down. And I told our staff we had to have that same spirit in this. We had sandbagged and sacrificed, and this is going to be sacrifice, this is going to be hard work, this is going to be sore shoulders, aching backs, just like sandbagging. It's going to be that same spirit that we have to bring to this. So our teachers, principals got at it Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday and looked at and identified essential learning, what we needed to do. On Wednesday the 18th, we had families come in and pick up items, properly social distanced and highly sanitized with each visitor. And then we piloted March 19th and 20th. We did our first start. So today, in a sense, is day 11, and we did our hard start then on Monday, March 23rd. So day 9 officially of our learning. I too want to thank our leadership team and our teachers and our parents. We're really partnering with them. And daily meetings and lots of communication has been a key. First task was to identify the essential learning, and again, not knowing how long this will last. The, pardon me. Also setting up our distance tools for distance learning, identifying those families that might not have a device or internet connectivity, and we think we've solved all those 100% now. The blessing, as Mike said, is we have now for the second year had iPads one-to-one for all of our secondary students. It was a simple, pretty easy transition there. Our elementaries are using devices at home. Nutrition we're providing now, meals daily for 175, and I'm grateful to our kitchen crew there. We're working with our local LEAs on any independent or service plans for students. We're surveying parents today, now day 11 of this, and so we're asking them, how are you and your family doing? What are you struggling with? We've got a checklist. I wish the school would fill in the blank. Would you like us to contact you? So again, we're 11 days in. We need to learn. We're a school. We're about learning from our parents and families on what can we be doing better to serve you in this unique situation. Early on last week, there was a course correction. We realized this cannot be a 5-day-a-week thing, and so we have incorporated a bonus day at the elementary level, and it's simply a 1, 2, 3, 4, and then day 5 flexed out is a bonus day, and our high school has Wednesday, and middle school has Wednesday as a day as well, and that's a day for tutoring, it's for resource, it's for group meetings, it's to do makeup work, it's to work on the project, it's to work on the paper, teacher office hours, teacher posting grades, etc. That's been a good course correction, our 4-day week. Again, we, like the other schools, are very flexible in how lessons are done and when assignments are posted, etc. Our teachers are providing that essential learning content. At the elementary, there are morning check-ins. They do Pledge of Allegiance, prayer, morning message, and then assignments are done via email and various classroom apps. And our high school, middle school, again, very flexible with posting lessons for the week, and then students working Monday, Tuesday, and then Wednesday is that resource day, and then Thursday, Friday, posting their assignments. Some challenges, minor technical ones, nothing like, the dog ate my homework, I couldn't upload my assignment, those types of things. The biggest challenge, honestly, has been striking a balance. How do we provide essential learning and at the same time not overwhelm our families, our students, our teachers? And so the balance has been the biggest challenge, and I think we're getting near a sweet spot. Again, our parent survey should help us with that. I agree with Chris, we think of our seniors, but just think of all the grief and loss, all the things that will not be, and whether it's a loss from death due to this illness or an illness itself, but all the little things and sacrifices people have to give up. Our athletes, our spring musical, and all the traditions of spring. There's going to be a lot of grief and loss, and we need to work together as a community to support people in that grieving. Some of our successes, learning the tools for communication, being flexible, and developing accessibility have really been success stories that we can carry over for the future. We are grateful for the opportunity that's been provided through this. We're grateful for the spirit. People are fighting the good fight in our school system. We're grateful for our faith that unites us in prayer and worship. We're grateful for the virtues that we see exercised here. And our elementaries each week have a virtue we teach. This week is the virtue of patience. And it's a perfect one for right now. Again, I'm so grateful for this opportunity to come together as a civic community and work together for the good of our school system, the good of our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate that. Our last speaker is Grace Lutheran School, Donovan Larson.
I should probably turn on my microphone. Well, thank you. And thanks to all the civic leaders and all of my colleagues in the office here. And ultimately, we're probably the smallest school district of anybody. So you've heard a lot of the things that we've tried to implement because part of what we do is have a relationship with the larger community. At Grace Lutheran School, we're an association-owned school of 6 churches in the metro area. And ultimately, our tagline is Christ, character, and community. And so really what I wanted to bring today was to reassure our families and our congregations that we are focusing on the patients and the relationship side of what we're doing has to do with prayer and praise for those two things, patience and prayer. Whether you're secular or not of a school, ultimately you have people in your schools that are are looking to others for advice. And so we've done a lot of the little things as a small school. It's afforded us some nimble. As part of the history of this, I think that just like others, 17, 18 days ago, I wasn't even in the state. So we reacted quickly. We onboarded with a transition plan on the 23rd and 25th. We had a special board meeting. We adapted. And so those patience and leadership things, basically taking the communication platform is the most important thing for all of this. And we said, well, with our association and our families, we have to listen and learn and then react appropriately with knowns that we could move forward with. Personally, I think through all this, I heard some advice, and I don't remember who it was, but ultimately making a decision is more important than being right about the decision down the road and being able to move forward. And so our faith in our school, with the leaders and the families that we have, that has created a great platform. Now, when we talk about some of the negatives, what's the only probably thing that we kind of came up with is platforms to challenge this. We have a small school, but maybe distance learning wants to come across many different platforms. When you're talking about Zoom or Google or however you're teaching, that has been what people have and are available to them, and then what we do as a school. We certainly provide devices and those sorts of things, and families have those devices. But it's important. I think the big thing that there's probably two takeaways from when we started this challenge was continued spiritual growth, and then ultimately mastery and reaffirmation of the things that we've gone through throughout the year. Because some of the colleagues have said that, it's very good that we're having this for those relationship things, but it's also good for the educational model that we've gone through a lot of these things. So it's reinforcement of the relationships that you have right now with your body of your kids and your families and the teachers. So, we did meet. We set some definitive items when the board met, things like a transition and access plan, so how we're going to respect the distances with families and be able to appropriately, even with a small school, may be able to have those in place. An extended absence plan, because regardless of online learning or not, how do we deal with this in the long term? And then ultimately a reopening plan, starting to talk about how that's going to happen when and if we're able to all do that together or separately, depending on whichever municipality or state. So, the expectation of consistency, and that's a big thing for every school, but for us that is where the relationships are based with those teachers and those students and parents, is that if it's not consistent, it breeds fear. And so ultimately that's what makes things inconsistent. So I think I said what the challenges were. The success is really probably, and you maybe have seen this, is how well people have adapted to this. The kids are adapting, and they're actually probably increasing their abilities and learning faster because things are not as programmed and it's more one-on-one. And so, but in the mix of that is, how do we teach our children through our educators and support our parents so that the education is being led by the teacher? And so in the end, we're not putting that full responsibility back on the parents to feel like the outcomes and measurabilities are what they're doing. And so that consistency is setting up hours throughout the day that works for families. So we have mornings on one-on-one and online, and then we have evenings that are set up. And so ultimately then you have afternoons to be able to set schedules within your family that work, depending on families that are working or maybe not working. So those are kind of the things, very similar things to my colleagues in here. Obviously, we're available one-on-one for all of those times, so we are encouraged that. All of our teachers meet daily for devotion, whether they're meeting in person or by Zoom, is self or basically a personal choice, or depending on where they live in town. So, and then I think talked about the hardships of distance learning, but really I'll just go back to what is probably the overriding thing for a small school like us is, the patience and prayer, and then praise to all the people involved for both of those things, because that's really what this kind of situation is all about. So thank you to everybody for allowing us to share where we're coming from with Grace Lutheran School.
Thank you very much, everybody. I think it's been amazing that you got schools back up and running. We're staying apart, but we're staying connected. I never thought my son would say, I want to get back to school, but he has, because he misses his friends and different people he knows and his teachers, and I think you found that. So I think you've all found a way to connect your students and to teach them as well. So thank you from all the mayors and Chad Peterson as well for all you're doing for our community, and keep up the good work. Thank you.